the greatest rainforest on Earth. It is home for 1 in 10 of all species. It may look like a vast tropical paradise, but it hides a harsher side. This is a landscape that is as much water as wood. And each year, the two worlds collide when the forest fills with water. The Amazon is inconceivably vast. Within this green space, a huge number of animals strive to make a living. Each morning, howler monkeys greet the day. They're advertising their ownership of a patch of forest. But their calls alert a keen-eyed killer. The harpy eagle is the most powerful bird of prey in the world, quite capable of carrying off a howler monkey. The harpy's 2-meter wings are broad and rounded, which allow it to maneuver through the canopy with deadly accuracy. The harpy's legs can be nearly as thick as a man's wrists, and it has the largest talons of any eagle. It can carry off prey that is almost the same weight as itself. But this time, the giant eagle's objective was only a branch. The leaves are for the nest, which is in one of the tallest trees in the rainforest. The fresh twigs may not be there to build up or decorate the nest. The leaves of many plants in this forest contain chemicals, poisons, to stop animals eating them. And these leaves may act as an insect repellent. The eagles could be deploying chemical weapons. The uniform green of the Amazon hides many differences. There are terra firme forests on high ground and flood forests alongside the myriad rivers and lakes. Many of the trees are engaged in a hidden war where they use chemicals for protection. Something the woolly monkeys might wish for, especially from insects. When not scratching, the monkeys provide a service to the trees. Figs offer nutritious soft fruits full of small seeds. As they feed, the woolly monkeys pass the seeds and so spread fig trees through the forest. In the unseen war, the trees fight to keep their leaves. Many use poisons to stop animals eating them, but at the same time, encouraging creatures to eat their fruits. Most fruit is highly nutritious, and this has helped shape the sex lives of one resident, the cock of the rock. Each morning, after quickly filling up on fruit, the fabulously coloured males gather at a communal display area, a lek. Each male owns a low-level perch, and below it a small patch of ground. It is because they are fueled by fruit that the males can spend most of the day displaying. The males compete amongst themselves, trying to drive other males from their perches. The arrival of a plain-coloured female, and the males descend to their individual areas. Curiously, the males now stop calling and hardly move. They wait with all their feathers pumped up, hoping the female will visit their patch. Males try to disrupt each other's shows, barging into the scene mid-display. The female watches and assesses the quality of the males on offer. The males use patches of sunlight to heighten their splendor. She has chosen a male on the far edge of the lek, where mating discreetly takes place. The trees offer edible fruit as a reward to animals that spread their seeds. But many put up a chemical shield to defend their leaves from being eaten. There's an unseen war between the trees and leaf eaters. And the most important leaf harvester in the Amazon is this small insect, the leafcutter ant. Its jaws vibrate 1,000 times a second as it slices through leaves. The cut leaves are not eaten by the worker ants. Instead, the ants carry them back to the nest. As they travel, the ants lay down a scent trail to mark the way. The chemical, a pheromone, is so powerful that each ant produces only 1/1000th of a gram. The cut leaf can weigh 20 times the ant's own weight, the equivalent of us carrying a 1-ton load. More remarkable still, these mini Hercules range more than 100 meters from their nest, the human equivalent of a 24-kilometer hike. As if the load were not enough, smaller ants ride on the leaf, shotgun style, to protect the carrier from parasitic flies. The underground nest is huge and may house as many as 8 million individuals. The leaves are taken to special chambers where a different class of ant cuts them into smaller pieces. The purpose of all this industry is to feed a fungus. The ants are farmers, and the smallest kind of worker tends the fungus gardens. This is the food for the colony. The ants and the fungus depend totally on each other. If the ants bring back leaves with a poison that doesn't suit the fungus, somehow it tells the ants, and they then gather different leaves. The queen is a colossus in this Lilliputian world and weighs 1,500 times more than the small gardener ants. Only she produces the eggs that will turn into the many kinds of workers. The colony is always busy, digging new chambers to grow more fungus. The spoil is brought out and dumped.
Australia nu găzduiește doar specii dintre cele mai veninoase, dar aici se simt bine doi dintre cei mai periculoși prădători pentru om. Să fie o lume chiar atât de ostilă. Numărătoarea inversă începe. 72 de animale periculoase în Australia. În fiecare joi la 7 pe Nat Geo Wild.
Antrenează bila leneșă cu Anghirol. Anghirol, antrenorul natural al bilei leneșe. De 3 ani de zile, cel mai vândut model de import din România. Octavia Smart. Acum la doar 15.990 euro TVA inclus.
Skoda. Simply clever. Ce îți oferă statul? Statul în picioare îți poate oferi picioare umflate și obosite. Dar stai liniștit. Devaricid plus C cu extract de castane este benefic pentru problemele picioarelor.
Să-ți facă mami un masaj bun?
Mami! Hai să-l tragi pe gelul, că l-a prins curentul!
Carmol Frecție. Te pune pe picioare.
Dacă medici cu experiență internațională se întorc să lucreze aici, tu de ce ai plecat să te operezi în altă țară? Nicolae Florescu, Claudiu Matei, Victor Costache.
După 14 ani în Franța, m-am întors să-i tratez pe români.
Înainte să cheltui banii în Europa, află ce lucruri extraordinare se întâmplă la noi. E ușor să-ți păstrezi sănătatea. Polisano. Află mai multe pe spitalulpolisano.ro.
Colebil pune bila pe picioare.
The ants have found one method of dealing with toxic leaves. Other animals have found different ways to overcome this challenge. The mother sloth has her own way of finding edible leaves. Very slowly. The reason for the sloth's famous lethargy is that leaves have little nutritional value. So the sloth saves energy by a very low, slow metabolism. The sloth uses her fine sense of smell to find leaves with few poisons. And the baby learns from its mother. Movement is a real giveaway to a predator. But this is no problem for the sloth, which rests and sleeps for much of the day. There is excitement at the nest. The eagle chick has hatched. The mother will do most of the nest duties, shading the baby from the fierce tropical sun. The chick will spend 5 months in the nest as it grows to the size of its giant parents. In all that time, they will bring in branches as insect control. The mother sees something move. It's not the sloth, but a howler monkey. The monkey will be one of many that the parents bring to their single chick over the coming months. Only the largest trees in the forest can support the eagle's huge nest. And one of the bird's favorites is the Brazil nut tree. It is a forest giant, and its fruits, too, are huge. The fruit weighs over 2 kilos, and as the tree can grow to 50 meters, it has a long way to fall. There's even a record of a fruit hitting and killing someone. The fruit is immensely hard, and for a long time it was a mystery as to what animal could open it. But we know now that this rodent, the agouti, both eats the Brazil nuts and helps produce new trees. The agouti's sharp incisors and powerful jaws chip away at the case. But it takes a lot of patience and stamina before the rodent reaches the nuts inside. The agouti eats some and buries the rest for later. Luckily for the tree, the agouti doesn't remember where all its buried treasure lies. And so, in the agouti, the Brazil nut tree has a well-paid gardener that even plants its seeds. The large seeds can lie dormant for over a year before they germinate. There is another animal that relies on the Brazil nut fruit. This is a kind of poison dart frog. The frog may get its toxins from the ants and mites it eats, which in turn may get the poisons from leaves. The frog concentrates the poison and advertises the fact with its bright colors. The female frog lays her eggs on the damp forest floor. The male guards them and keeps them clean. When they hatch, he gives them a lift. The tadpoles stick to the mucus on the frog's back. The frog piggybacks the tadpoles, one by one, to empty Brazil nut cases. He checks the miniature pond to see that it has enough food for the tadpole to eat. In a couple of months, young poison dart frogs will emerge from the safe nurseries of the Brazil nut cases. The Amazon forest is a tough place to live. No paradise. It is full of hidden poisons and unpalatable plants that its inhabitants have to cope with. The howler monkeys must rest and sleep for hours whilst they digest barely edible leaves. The night brings new challenges and a different cast of animals. Creatures that tuck away out of sight during the day. And there are different fruits to be found and consumed. The four-eyed opossum prepares for the night. It's an omnivore, a generalist. It uses its sense of smell to find food in its dark world. But it has to compete with grapefruit and silky short-tailed bats. A large fruit is an irresistible attraction. The four-eyed opossum needs to move quickly if it's to fend off the hungry bats. They are absorbed with feeding, but they must be wary of the opossum. The allure of so much fallen fruit is too much. And once the opossum has left, the bats return. They are in the grip of a feeding frenzy and fail to notice the opossum's return. The Amazon is a world where much is hidden, where the trees offer fruits whilst defending their leaves. A world of poisons, where plants and animals fight an unseen war. But for both plants and animals, there is one huge challenge: the weather. The Amazon is a rainforest. About 250 centimeters of rain falls a year. And most is concentrated in the wet season. The trees and their leaves play a crucial role in the weather, for half the rain that falls comes from the forest itself. The leaves naturally release water vapor, which then forms clouds and returns as rain. The downpours are dangerous for the harpy eagle chick. If the baby is drenched, it may chill and die. These are perilous times for the most powerful eagle on Earth.
Australia nu găzduiește doar specii dintre cele mai veninoase, dar aici se simt bine doi dintre cei mai periculoși prădători pentru om. Să fie o lume chiar atât de ostilă. Numărătoarea inversă începe. 72 de animale periculoase în Australia. În fiecare joi la 7 pe Nat Geo Wild.
Nu trata superficial simptomele de răceală și gripă, pentru că febra, nasul înfundat și durerea de cap îți pot afecta concentrarea în cele mai importante momente. Coldrex Lemon conține o combinație de ingrediente active care te ajută să ții sub control simptomele de răceală și gripă dimineața, la prânz și seara, ca să redevii tu însuți, în orice moment al zilei. Coldrex Lemon, eficient întreaga zi, ca să redevii tu însuți. Acesta este un medicament. Citiți cu atenție prospectul.
Bixtonin Xilo Aroma cu uleiuri volatile desfundă nasul mult și bine. Acțiune delicată, respirație intensă.
Când simți că iei foc, iar febra își face loc, Parasinus îți aduce vânătoare de răceală.
Ai răcit sau ești gripat? Parasinus ți-e aliat.
Acesta este un medicament. Citiți cu atenție prospectul.
Cavit sărbătorește 50 de ani. Acum cu o formulă îmbunătățită și cu o nouă înfățișare pentru dezvoltarea armonioasă a juniorilor și viața sănătoasă a adulților. Cavit, îl știi de mic. Acesta este un supliment alimentar. Citiți cu atenție prospectul.
Neumarkt. Palatinul. Neumarkt. Neumarkt. Așa amplifică. Neumarkt.
Las că vedeți la anul. Colebil pune bila pe picioare.
Când ești blocat, eliberarea vine din lucrurile naturale. Pentru un ajutor suplimentar, alege tot ceva natural. Formula unică Senalax cu sena și crușin are dublă acțiune pentru un efect rapid. Senalax plus crușin, primul remediu natural atunci când ești blocat. Acesta este un supliment alimentar. Citiți cu atenție prospectul.
Dacă orașele ar fi fost mai verzi și printre oameni ar fi trăit fiare, atunci betonul s-ar fi ridicat de frică? Sau poate deja trăim ca în junglă? Bun sosit în Jungla Urbană. Premiera 31 decembrie pe Nat Geo Wild. Mai aproape, tot mai aproape de animale sălbatice. Asta ne e meseria. Dar acum suntem foarte aproape. Putem filma oriunde, oricând. Vietăți care n-au habar de existența noastră. E începutul unei ere noi în documentar. Descoperiți secrete din sălbăticie. Premiera 4 ianuarie pe Nat Geo Wild.
The rains transform the Amazon forest and its many rivers. The water swells the rivers, and as they rise, they begin to enter the forest. The rainstorms are so intense that the forest becomes an amphibious world, halfway between air and water. The leafcutter ants are in trouble. Their pheromone trails are washing away. And things are about to get even worse. It's not just the torrents of water from above. The rivers keep rising, overwhelming the ants' trails. The ants, the greatest consumers of leaves in the forest, are swamped by the rainy season. As the water rises, it spreads into the forest and creates some of the most unique habitats in the world. The várzeas and igapós, or seasonally flooded forests. Almost 250,000 square kilometers of forest is submerged. The transformation is total. Where once birds perched and agoutis fed, there are now new opportunities. At its peak, the flood can reach over 20 kilometers into the forest. The water is green with microscopic plankton, which feeds shoals of small fish as they move into the flooded forest. The fish set up home amongst the leaves of the forest floor, where ants once carried their heavy loads. This male rivulus is attracted by a female. She is larger and sends out strong come-hither signals. But all is not as it seems. The male is enticed, but he is courting with death. The female was nothing of the sort, but another species, Erythrinus, a fishy femme fatale that mimics a female and so lures the male to its death. As the water rises further into the forest, larger predators move in with it. The mata-mata lives on the front line as the flood pushes into the trees. It has its own method for catching fish. One of its techniques is to blend into the background. It looks like an old weed-covered log. Its disguise is so complete that fish nibble its shell. This formidable predator's only limitation is that it must breathe air. This restricts the mata-mata to the shallow edges of the encroaching flood. The turtle settles down again and waits. And then explodes into action. For most fish, the end is as unexpected as it is sudden. The Brazilian name mata-mata may refer to the turtle's ability to kill. If so, it is highly appropriate. As the water fills the forest, it causes problems for some of its slower inhabitants. The sloth faces the new challenge of moving from tree to tree as it searches for the least poisonous leaves. The sloth is a surprisingly good swimmer, which is just as well. Mother and baby can swim. Very slowly. The short distances between trees. As long as their fur doesn't become too waterlogged. Curiously, the sloth's wet fur may be a blessing in disguise, for it encourages green algae to grow, which provides a kind of camouflage. As the water continues rising up the branches of the trees, a male splashing characin moves in and sets up territory. And it soon attracts a female. The male guards an anonymous patch of water below a twig. The splashing characins are unique among all fish in laying their eggs on leaves above the water. The act of mating requires extraordinary coordination and perfect timing. The reason for all this precision is that the fish's eggs are safer on a leaf out of the water, away from hungry mouths. Once all the eggs are laid, the male not only guards them, he also keeps them moist. The eggs develop quickly, and after 2 days, the babies are ready to hatch. They drop safely into the waters of the flooded forest. The water has reached its maximum height, as much as 12 meters higher than in the dry season. Yet some trees fruit at this time when they're surrounded by hectares of water. The rubber tree seeds seem to be wasted, falling into the floods. But nothing could be further from the truth. This fish swims below the rubber tree. It has evolved as a specialized fruit and seed eater with powerful jaws and teeth that can crush the hardest seeds. The strange relationship between fish and tree is mutually beneficial. Those seeds that pass through its gut are spread throughout the flooded forest. At the height of the flood, the Várzea is not a safe place. For the pirarucu, the largest fish in the Amazon, prowls its deep waters. This monster can grow up to 3 meters long. The pirarucu is a strange giant, for the fish rises to the surface every 10 to 15 minutes as it hunts. For it must breathe air. The pirarucu is a member of a primitive family of fishes that has been stalking and terrifying other fish since the age of the dinosaurs. And the pirarucu has a relative, another dinosaur fish that haunts the leafy subaquatic world of the flooded forest. It has a very different target. The small creatures that are stranded on the trunks and branches of the flooded trees. At 1 meter long, the arowana is smaller than the pirarucu, but no less frightening. The flood brings it closer to the treetops and its prey. The floods are a time of plenty for the arowanas. For months, they have access to the trees. But all good things must come to an end.
Mai aproape, tot mai aproape de animale sălbatice. Asta ne e meseria. Dar acum suntem foarte aproape. Putem filma oriunde, oricând, vietăți care n-au habar de existența noastră. E începutul unei ere noi în documentar. Descoperiți secrete din sălbăticie. Premiera 4 ianuarie pe Net Geo Wild.
Suntem în mediul natural al unei familii în sezonul rece, iar din clipă în clipă situația poate deveni mai înghețată decât afară.
Auzi, dragă, observ ce va schimba la mine?
Această întrebare a femeii este o capcană clasică, iar dacă bărbatul nu a sesizat-o, este în mare pericol.
Te-ai tu?
Da, dragă, acum o lună. Azi m-am vopsit.
Incredibil! Nu am mai văzut așa ceva, o familie cu adevărat echilibrată.
Zizin, dă cu pace în familie. Deficitul de bilă îți poate provoca greață, durere sau gust amar, dar nu-ți face griji. Colebil este alături de tine. Colebil pune bila pe picioare. Acest medicament se eliberează fără prescripție medicală. Citiți cu atenție prospectul.
Să vedem o reluare, stai!
S-a luat curentul. Ai trecut de pus? Nu, hai de...
Viața ne-a învățat cum să găsim soluții pentru orice situație. Ce nu ne-a învățat e cum să ne descurcăm cu banii de la o lună la alta. Cu pachetul Salariu Plus de la Guarantee Bank ai bonus pe card instant la orice cumpărătură și 6 luni de gratuități.
La Herbie Sports s-a dat startul reducerilor de iarnă cu prețuri de până la 50% mai mici. De exemplu, Ski All Mountain Fisher Viron Carve la doar 674,99 lei, doar între 26 decembrie și 14 ianuarie.
Movin' Herbie Sports.
Neumarkt. Palatinul. Neumarkt. Neumarkt. Așa amplifică. Neumarkt.
Las că vedeți la anul.
Dacă tu crezi că e ușor să te ocupi de 200.000 de pasageri pe zi,
You're living in a dream.
să rezolvi în fiecare clipă o problemă
We've had a 777 that burst all 16 tires.
și fiecare oră să-ți fie o provocare,
If a passenger is upset, there's probably 100 reasons why he is upset.
atunci ești bun. Angajează-te aici. Aeroportul Internațional Dubai. În fiecare joi la 10 pe National Geographic Channel.
Aceasta este cea mai emoționantă poveste spusă vreodată. Filmată fără trucaje sau efecte speciale, în cel mai amplu și sălbatic decor. Povești cu farmec, în care realitatea bate ficțiunea. ...24 de ore pe zi, 7 zile din 7. Viața sălbatică, cel mai frumos spectacol. Redescoperă-ți dragostea pentru natură pe Nat Geo Wild. Australia nu găzduiește doar specii dintre cele mai veninoase, dar aici se simt bine doi dintre cei mai periculoși prădători pentru om. Să fie o lume chiar atât de ostilă. Numărătoarea inversă începe. 72 de animale periculoase în Australia. În fiecare joi la 7 pe Nat Geo Wild.
Dacă orașele ar fi fost mai verzi și printre oameni ar fi trăit fiare, atunci betonul s-ar fi ridicat de frică? Sau poate deja trăim ca în junglă?
This is a wild leopard in the middle of the city.
Bun Smith, expert în feline mari, își urmărește clienții pe unde nu te aștepți.
This is not supposed to ever happen.
Jungla urbană. Premiera 31 decembrie pe Nat Geo Wild.
The waters begin to recede. This is a dangerous time for the fishes of the forest. It's all too easy to be trapped in ponds and puddles, stranded on the forest floor. But not all the fish are helpless. As the pools empty, Erythrinus, the killer mimic, simply swims over the ground. Gravity carries it downhill to the river. In this remarkable way, it escapes certain death. Rivulus too has an escape strategy. It uses its powerful tail muscles to launch itself into the air. In this strenuous way, it flips over the forest floor. Eventually arriving at permanent water. The temporary inhabitants of the flooded forests are forced back towards the streams, rivers, and lakes. The Pirarucu father guards his babies. They hatched as the waters rose and have grown rapidly in the flooded forest. Now the monster fish shows his gentle side, watching over hundreds of his babies. They've already taken up the habit of breathing air. And that ability is crucial for babies and adults alike, for the warm waters have very low oxygen. The babies will stay with their father for 3 months. The male secretes a pheromone from his head, which keeps the young fish close. They will grow to 1 meter long mini monsters by the time they are 1 year old. Few of these babies will reach adulthood, but those that do will become the largest freshwater fishes in South America and terrors of the flooded forest. The ebb and flow of the floods brings both feast and famine to fishes. And the rainy and dry seasons affect all the creatures of the Amazon. It's in the dry season, in the terra firme forest, that another giant of the Amazon reaches a key moment in its parental duties. The harpy eagle brings a meal to the nest. It's 5 months old and almost fully grown. Over the long period in the nest, its parents have brought monkeys and sloths, placed leaves to fend off insects, and protected it from the rains. Now it's time to take to the air. But first, the chick must strengthen its wing muscles. The realm of the harpy eagle is one of the most complex in the world. The trees hold the key to many of its secrets. They guard their precious leaves with poisons. And those same leaves release the water vapor that in turn produces the clouds that feed the most remarkable floods on Earth.
Australia. Not only does it have some of the most venomous creatures.
Australia nu găzduiește doar specii dintre cele mai veninoase, dar aici se simt bine 2 dintre cei mai periculoși prădători pentru om. Să fie o lume chiar atât de ostilă.
As soon as it sees movement, it's got to react. It's just this almighty hit.
Numărătoarea inversă începe. 72 de animale periculoase în Australia. Urmează pe Nat Geo Wild.
Dacă orașele ar fi fost mai verzi și printre oameni ar fi trăit fiare, atunci betonul s-ar fi ridicat de frică? Sau poate deja trăim ca în junglă?
This is a wild leopard in the middle of the city.
Bun